Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the RC Psych Aggrey Burke Fellowship information webinar. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the webinar this evening. So just to introduce myself, my name is Dr Declan Hyland. I'm the college's Associate Dean for Psychiatry, and I'm also heavily involved with the Aggrey Burke Fellowship. So I'll be chairing the webinar this evening. So we've just got a few housekeeping rules to go through prior to commencing with our talk this evening. So we obviously want to ensure there's plenty of time for you to ask any questions that you've got about the Aggrey Burke Fellowship. So please do ask away, and please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen for asking any questions. If you put your questions in the chat function, we may miss them. So we will try and make sure we get through as many questions as we can. If we can't answer all of your questions during the course of the webinar, we will do our best to answer the remaining questions and put the answers on the college website. So feel free to put your questions in the Q&A box at any time over the next hour. Just to note that the application for the Aggrey Burke Fellowship will open tomorrow at midday, and that will be on the college website, www.rcsite.ac.uk. I'm sure details will be posted using the chat function. Just to give you an idea of the programme for the webinar, so we're very fortunate this evening to be joined by one of our current Aggrey Burke Fellows, Elsie, as well as one of our former Aggrey Burke Fellows, one of our inaugural Aggrey Burke Fellows, Daniel, and Daniel's mentor as well, Dr Ife Ameki, has kindly agreed to join us as well to talk a little bit about her experience of being a mentor to an Aggrey Burke Fellow. So I'm going to start off with a very short presentation before I introduce my fellow speakers. So I'm just going to share my screen and bring up my slides. So hopefully you'll be able to see my presentation. Okay, so from the beginning, hopefully that has appeared okay. Are the slides moving okay?
Yes, they're fine, Declan.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so we'll hear from Elsie and we'll hear from Daniel as well. And then Ife will give us a little bit of an overview from a mentor perspective. And then we've got sort of at least 15 minutes for questions and answers. So do feel free to post your questions. Okay. So I'm just going to advance the slides. Okay, so what is the Aggrey Burke Fellowship? Well, I suspect that many of you may not have even heard of Aggrey Burke, actually. And Aggrey Burke is significant in the history of psychiatry and the history of the Royal College of Psychiatrists because he was actually the first black psychiatrist employed in the NHS. And he had a particular interest in and specialised in transcultural psychiatry. And one of the things that he did over the course of his clinical career was looking at carrying out extensive research on the role of racial discrimination in psychiatric disorders. So we were absolutely delighted to be able to set up the fellowship in Aggrey's honour. And it was a great pleasure to meet Dr. Burke, actually myself, at the college a year ago. Very sadly passed away fairly recently. And the college was incredibly touched by his family's wishes, actually, that donations were sent to the Aggrey Burke Fellowship from people who were wishing to donate in memory of Dr. Aggrey Burke. So we owe Dr. Burke a great deal, and I know he was really pleased to be able to meet the Aggrey Burke Fellows from the first cohort and to meet with the college officers, including our president, Lade Smith, as well. So it was a real great pleasure to meet Aggrey. So we currently have 3 Aggrey Burke Fellows for each cohort. So it's a 2-year scheme, and that's one of the ways in which it differs from the PsychStar scheme that you may have also heard of. So with the Aggrey Burke Fellowship, they're actually 2 years. So it will run from the 1st of September 2026 to the 31st of August 2028. And of course, I think having that 2 years gives a little bit more time to think carefully about what you want to achieve over the course of the fellowship and how you might achieve those goals. What are the benefits of the scheme? Well, I think probably the most important one of all, and the one that certainly the students seem to feedback as being the one they enjoy most, is the opportunity to be mentored. And I think this is invaluable, particularly as a medical student, to have access to a mentor, and specifically a mentor that is matched to your areas of interest and or your geography as well, in terms of which UK medical school you're studying at. So we try and match the mentors as best we can to where it is that you're actually placed in terms of which UK medical school and what your specific areas of interest within psychiatry are. But also we have a introduction evening at the college as well, and that's, it's a great opportunity to meet with the other two Aggrey Burke Fellows that are appointed, as well as the Psych Stars, because the Psych Stars come along as well. And it's a lovely opportunity to actually visit the college. If you've never been to the college before, we hope it'll be the first of many times that you come to the college, and to meet with our college officers as well. One of the great benefits is the opportunity to attend the flagship annual event of the Royal College of Psychiatrists, which is the International Congress, which is being held in Liverpool this year from the 15th to the 18th of June. So we have the International Congress every year, and as an Aggrey Burke Fellow, you will have free attendance at all 4 days, and that will include accommodation expenses and travel expenses as well. Great opportunity to hear about cutting-edge research, international speakers, and probably most importantly, to meet like-minded medical students who are similarly interested in psychiatry, and to do a little bit of networking and hopefully present an e-poster or two. But there are academic benefits as well, in terms of access to CPD. So you have access to the college's CPD e-learning modules, and there are about 180 of these and about 90 podcasts, as well as access to MRC Psych Learning, which are the resources that our core trainees in psychiatry, resident doctors in training, will use for their membership exams. So if you want to get ahead of the game, or you're really interested in a specific mental disorder and want to learn more about it, the MRC Psych e-learning will be very helpful, in that regard. And then if you've got a specific interest in accessing academic journals, you will have free subscription to various journals, including the British Journal of Psychiatry, the Yellow Journal, and the BJ Psych Bulletin as well. Perhaps one of the other great perks of the Aggrey Burke Fellowship is the CPD fund. So you will be allocated £1,500 over the course of the 2 years for you to be able to attend any conferences or courses or events of interest. So that may be in any area of psychiatry, or you may use that money towards a special study module in psychiatry, or an elective in psychiatry, or perhaps purchasing psychiatry textbooks that are going to be really helpful for you once you start your foundation training, and certainly your core training as well. And your mentor is always available for advice around how you might want to spend your CPD fund, and we would absolutely encourage you to spend every penny of that £1,500 over the course of the 2 years. So what about the eligibility criteria then? So in order to be eligible, you should be of one of the following categories of ethnicity. So Black African, Black British, Black Caribbean, or Black other. Okay, you need to be enrolled as a medical student at a UK university. So unfortunately, it's UK campuses only. And you need to be enrolled at a UK medical school at the start of each fellowship year. So i.e. 1st of September 2026 and 1st of September 2027. It is okay for you to be intercalating. So you may be doing either about to go into your intercalating year, or thinking about doing an intercalation 1 year into the scheme. That's quite okay. That is permissible. You must be a current student associate of the college. And I'm sure Katrina will put details in the chat box about how you can become a student associate of the college if you're not already one of them. It's free to join. Do join the college as a student associate. So what are the expectations in terms of being an Aggrey Burke Fellow? Well, what we always like is for you to attend the introduction event at the start of the scheme. And I think that's important, really, because it's an opportunity not only for you to meet the other medical students that are also going to be Aggrey Burke Fellows for that 2 years, but it's also a lovely opportunity to meet with medical students from across the UK with an interest in psychiatry. So you'll get to meet the Psych Stars. We invite our Psych Star mentors and Aggrey Burke mentors to come down as well. So sometimes it's a nice opportunity to meet with your mentor for the first time. And I think importantly as well, it helps you to establish that link with the college. And I'm conscious as a medical student, you may well have never attended the college. and it's a lovely opportunity to meet the president of our college and our college officers as well. I know they really enjoy coming along to the introduction event. We ask you to make contact with your mentor in the very early stages of the scheme, and ideally within the first couple of weeks. And it's important you set up that initial meeting so that you can think together a little bit about a plan in terms of what you want to do over the next 2 years, and maybe think about setting some objectives and some timelines. And as with any scheme, you get out what you put in relation to this, and your mentor will be really keen to support you with accessing opportunities, clinical experiences, or contacts or networking opportunities, but also providing you with that advice, perhaps around career guidance, where you might want to go for your elective, why you might choose a certain subspecialty psychiatry, etc. So they're very much there to provide you with support and advice throughout the 2 years of the scheme. Now, I'm conscious that sometimes with the mentors, they're not necessarily as close to where you may be studying at medical school as we might like. So it's important that you maintain that regular contact through email, use of MS Teams or Zoom, etc. You may want to set up virtual meetings, or it might be you're able to set up face-to-face meetings. I think it's always lovely if you can try and meet face-to-face, but I appreciate that's not always that easy with busy clinical schedules that we all have. And the students should be on placement potentially 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it can be difficult. One of the things I do like to do is catch up with the Aggrey Burke Fellows. So 3 times a year, I arrange to meet up virtually with our Aggrey Burke Fellows just to kind of see how things are going. You find out a little bit about what projects you're involved with or what your plans may be. And of course, as well, to sort of iron out any potential difficulties or issues that any of you guys are having. Though, of course, we have the careers team at the college that are able to support with any admin queries or issues on a day-to-day basis. We would expect you to attend the International Congress, and we do hold a bursary holders session at Congress. So we normally do this as a breakfast on day 2 of Congress. And again, it's a lovely opportunity to meet face-to-face. Not least for myself to meet with you guys face to face, but also each other and the Psych Stars as well. And I think importantly, we want you guys to be ambassadors for psychiatry and ambassadors for the Aggrey Burke Fellowship. The Aggrey Burke Fellowship was only set up fairly recently. We're now on our 2nd cohort, so we're really keen to see this initiative grow and increase in popularity. So we really want you guys to be ambassadors for the scheme. Tell your friends about it. Encourage them to apply, support them to apply with future cohorts. And we may well ask you to write articles or give presentations. It's a great opportunity for you to sort of provide your own sort of thoughts about the scheme, how it's helped you and perhaps how it's cemented your views about a career in psychiatry. We are hopeful of doing an evaluation of the scheme as well. And I think, this is a really important aspect of the Aggrey Burke Fellowship scheme, because we recognised the need to create a scheme like this so that Black medical students had opportunities and access to clinical experiences that they might not get otherwise. So one of the things we may ask you to do is to participate in some sort of evaluation scheme for up to 5 years after the fellowship finishes. In terms of the application process itself, so as I said, the application window opens tomorrow at midday. It's going to stay open for a significant period of time, so until Monday, the 27th of April at midday. So you've got plenty of time to think about your application, maybe go away and draft some answers, get some advice or feedback on the answers that you've come up with for the questions that form the application form. Do think very carefully about the college's values and behaviours when completing your application. And these can be found on the Royal College of Psychiatrists website. So it's one of the things that we consider when we're scoring applicants in terms of their answers to the questions asked as part of the application. So have a think about the college's values and behaviours, see how you can weave them into your answers and how you can demonstrate that you live the college's values and behaviours. That's a really important aspect. We recognise that AI can be helpful. We do expect all applications to be original and authentic, and we want this to be honest and truthful and reflective of your own experiences and qualifications and your own writing style as well. So by the same token, if you do use AI to support your application or to help you produce your application, please do explain this. Yeah, please do let us know so that we're aware of the fact that you have used AI. And what we will do is we will score all of the applicants, and then we will shortlist applicants, and there will be a panel of us doing that, myself included. And what we will then do is we will hold some interviews as part of the second selection stage, and those interviews will be done remotely, so they'll be done virtually. You won't have to travel to the college. So in terms of the application itself, there are several questions you need to answer as part of your application. So what do you hope to gain from the fellowship, and consider how you would use your CPD fund, and think very carefully about this. And I think the one piece of advice I would give is try to be multidimensional in your response to that. Try not to get focused on just one project you would use the CPD fund. It's great to hear of different things you would want to do with that money, and what you'd want to do from the fellowship as well. Describe a situation with a patient which made you reflect. Now, that doesn't need to be a patient that you've encountered in a psychiatric setting, because I appreciate that not all of you will have done your psychiatry placement. Some of you may be early years preclinical students. You're perfectly eligible to apply for the Aggrey Burke Fellowship, regardless of what year of your undergraduate study you're in. So it can be in any sort of clinical setting, outpatient, inpatient, any medical or surgical specialty. What aspect of psychiatry do you find most challenging? And then give an example of where you've had to innovate. And again, that doesn't need to be based in psychiatry. It doesn't even need to be clinically related. It may be something outside of your academic studies, so maybe from your own personal life. And then finally, describe a situation where you have failed to achieve a desired objective and what you learn. And again, that doesn't necessarily need to be within a clinical setting, so it can be outside of your academic studies if you would prefer. Very happy to answer any questions. Please do submit your questions using the Q&A function. Very best of luck with your applications, and do get in contact either with myself or the careers team at the college if you have any further queries. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing and hand over to one of our Aggrey Burke Fellows. So I believe first up we have Elsie, who is one of our current Aggrey Burke Fellows, who's going to talk a little bit about her application to the scheme and presumably what she hopes to get out of it. Thank you very much, Elsie.
No problem. So hello, my name is Elsie. I'm currently a fifth year medical student at Imperial College London. So just a bit about why I applied for the Aggrey Burke Fellowship in the beginning. Earlier years in medical school was sort of looking into a psychiatry sort of speciality, and just looking to see the things that I could do to help build my portfolio if it was a path that I wanted to go down. And I just saw the fellowship, and I really liked the fact that a big aspect of it was the mentoring, because I thought that although it's quite easy to research things by yourself, actually being guided by someone in the field of experience, I think is quite invaluable. So that's one of the main things that drew me towards applying. Just in terms of my application, I think the things that I focused on was, for me, just being genuine with answers and really saying, I know it seems simple, but really just explaining why I would want to be an Aggrey Burke Fellow and what I would hope to gain from it. Because I think that it's okay to not necessarily be absolutely sold on the fact that you want to be a psychiatrist, even if you have a bit of interest, and think that this is something that could help you sort of make more decisions into whether you actually want to pursue a psychiatric career or not. I think is helpful when you're applying. I think things that did help me once I answered the questions in terms of prepping for the interview was I did practice with other people, and I tried to get other people's perspectives on how I answered questions. I also used personal experiences in terms of explaining my motivations as to why I would be interested in a career in psychiatry, and just how I thought a mentor could help me. In terms of just what I've experienced so far in the fellowship, it's been very, very, very good. I've met a lot of different psychiatrists, and I've had the privilege of sort of having my view of psychiatry shift in terms of there's so much to psychiatry I didn't know. There's so much more than what is displayed on the RC Psych website in terms of it's a good place to start with the different specialities, but there's so many branches of psychiatry that you just generally would not know unless you actually spoke to someone with experience in that field. And I think that it has been invaluable in introducing me to different concepts and different areas of psychiatry I never thought existed before. And my mentor has been very helpful in terms of just having someone just support you in achieving what you want to achieve. A big thing in what I want to get done within the mentorship is portfolio building. So try get in on more sort of projects. And I think my mentor has been really good with bouncing back ideas. And something that's quite nice is that with my other fellows, because there's two others, we're sort of aiming to have undergo a project of some sort in things that we're passionate about. And that's quite nice, you know, to have like-minded individuals in that sense. And yeah, it's just been really a very good experience, and it's very exciting because when I first started, I wasn't 100% sure I wanted to do psychiatry. It was something that I was considering, but I was still open to many things. And even within psychiatry, the different subspecialties, I sort of had my focuses on child and adolescent, but through meeting so many different psychiatrists now, I'm just so I want to do it all. Obviously you can't do it all, but it's just very has been a very exciting experience for me. Um, and in terms of what I hope to gain moving forward, I just hope to continue to be exposed to more areas of psychiatry that I haven't previously been exposed to. I also hope to, with my CPD fund, attend conferences. I'm in fifth year right now, which is a little bit challenging to balance medical school and sort of outside of medical school. But hopefully, I'm hoping that when I get to sixth year, I can attend more conferences and use my CPD fund mainly towards an elective somewhere that is psychiatry based as well. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I hope what I was able to communicate was very helpful. And hopefully, if you have any questions at the end, I will, because I think I've seen some things in the chat, but I think um, I will, there'll probably be some time to answer all the questions at the end.
Thank you very much, Elsie, and appreciate you giving up your time as well to come and speak as part of the webinar today. Yeah, so we will have plenty of time for questions, and do please keep your questions coming in. Yeah, this is a great opportunity for you to ask any questions that you think might be relevant, and certainly no question's a silly question, but we'll have plenty of time at the end to answer them. So it gives me great pleasure then to introduce our next speaker, who is Daniel. And Daniel was one of our first cohort of Aggrey Burke Fellows, so very privileged position really. And he's going to speak about his own experience of being an Aggrey Burke Fellow. So Daniel, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I just want to start by obviously giving a thanks to Claire and Declan and the college for giving me an opportunity to share a bit with you guys. So yeah, a bit about me. I'm Daniel, I'm 21 and I'm currently in my fourth year studying medicine at Bristol. And then just a bit of background. So my parents initially from Nigeria, so they came over in 2000 and I was born here in the UK. So I guess going a bit more into my journey with the fellowship, so sort of why I applied, I'd say I'd say I had a genuine interest in psychiatry. So before I went to uni, I was actually initially going to do psychology. But then after sort of doing a bit more research and looking into my different options, I thought, let me go down the medical route with the sort of interest of potentially doing psychiatry later on in life. So obviously for a bit of context, I applied for the fellowship at the end of my first year. So at this point, I'd had sort of very limited clinical experience. You know, I don't think I'd actually really been on wards at that point. So with me, applying to the fellowship was really just a way of just sort of seeing what's out there, you know, because I guess at that point, although I was very much interested in psychiatry, there were a lot of different specialties that I was interested in. But when I sort of looked into the sort of details of the fellowship, I think one thing that I really liked about it was obviously the mentoring, I think having someone who's sort of, a professional in that field and sort of being able to, talk to them, ask them questions. I thought that was something that would be really invaluable as well. And then I guess following on from that, going into the actual application process, to be honest, I don't remember too much about it just because, yeah, it was over 2 years ago now, so quite a bit of time ago. But I guess from what I do remember, I think the key points I'd say is sort of firstly, as sort of Declan mentioned earlier, I think really trying to link what you're writing to the college values, So I remember for mine, I sort of went up on the college website and sort of looked down on the different things, like sort of about courage, collaboration, all of that, and really try to create answers that really sort of aligned with the, college values and behaviors. But I think alongside that as well, what I found really important was making it personal. So I remember I sort of talked about my own personal experiences, I guess, with psychiatry itself. So my dad actually works as a psychiatrist. So that was a big thing for me in terms of, shaping my personal view of what a career in psychiatry would actually look like. And I sort of went and talk about, my own sort of personal medical experiences as well, sort of times where I stayed in hospital and things, and how, I guess, the doctors and the different members of the multidisciplinary team really made it a welcoming environment for me. But yeah, I'd say in terms of the application, I don't remember too much about the interview, but I remember again, I believe it was Declan and Claire as well who did my interview, but I remember, obviously they were lovely. It was quite laid back. And I'd say one thing that I do remember that I'd say was good is that try and show genuine interest, So I'd say myself, I'm quite a inquisitive person. I like to ask questions about things that I'm not sure about or that I don't understand. So I'd say don't be afraid, even though it's an interview, don't be afraid, ask them questions, get to know a bit more about what the fellowship actually involves. And then I guess looking back, so after my 2 years of completing a fellowship, I guess in terms of sort of things that I got out of it or things that I'd learned from it, I'd say the biggest one is probably just building confidence. I'd say I've never really done anything like the fellowship scheme, and it meant that a lot of the sort of scenarios or a lot of the environments that I was in through the fellowship were things that were quite foreign to me. A good example is even this webinar, doing things like this is something that's very outside of my comfort zone. But I think through sort of, obviously through the guidance and support of everyone and through sort of just over time, it really sort of built my confidence and made me become more comfortable with certain environments. So for example, going to Congress, sort of, I think the first year was up in Edinburgh. So, it was all quite new to me, sort of going up to Scotland, somewhere I've never been, and sort of a massive conference with psychiatrists all around the world, where myself, I was just sort of a medical student who just finished my second year. So initially it was all quite overwhelming, but I think just through, talking to everyone, talking to different people, it really did help me, to build my confidence. And as well as that, it really helped me to, I guess, get a better idea of what a career in psychiatry actually involves. Just sort of talking to the different people, getting an idea of what the work-life balance is. And something else that was really nice is I think I just sort of was able to get a real feel of the community, of sort of RC Psych, with things like Congress, they have a lot of lovely meals, and seeing how like all the different psychiatrists still know each other from their training days. I think that was really nice, just the sort of community feel of all of it. And then I'd say in terms of sort of how the fellowship has impacted me and how it would have an impact on my future plans, I'd say the main things that's helped me with is sort of, it's helped to give me a better idea sort of the route that I'd want to go into in psychiatry. So I was able to sort of talk to a lot of different psychiatrists who specialize in different fields of psychiatry. So for example, like things like forensic psychiatry or like general adult or CAMS. So I think based off that, I've been able to sort of get a real good sense of different specialties. And something else which is actually amazing, which I work on with my mentor, Dr. Ifeoma, is that we're actually in the process of hopefully arranging my elective, which would be in CAMS, which I think is amazing, that sort of through someone who I've met through the college, being able to sort of organize this experience, and hopefully after that sort of 8-week period, I'd have an even better idea, you know, of what I want life to look like when I specialize and hopefully go into psychiatry. So I'd say those were both really amazing things that the fellowship was able to provide. And I'd say also a final one is myself and the 2 other Aggrey Burke Fellows from my cohort actually are in the process of conducting research, which again is something that I probably wouldn't have even thought of doing before the fellowship. But you know, it's a really amazing opportunity. And I'm not sure if hopefully if the slide should be shared soon or if it can be shared, but essentially it's just research looking at essentially how sort of, you know, Black medical students view careers in psychiatry. And the data that we're getting is hopefully, you know, going to be stuff that can be used by the Royal College in psychiatry in the wider sense to sort of, you know, try and see if there's any changes or barriers preventing Black people from going into careers in psychiatry. So I think even if anyone on this webinar is interested, the slide is here and it's just a little QR code just for a short questionnaire, sort of just to yeah, essentially see what your views on psychiatry are. But yeah, I'd say in terms of my talk, those are the main parts. So yeah, and again, I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone has at the end. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jed. And it's a fantastic project that you 3 are working on. I think it's a really important piece of work, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the end result of that. And there's a lot of work going into that project, so do get involved with that project. Anyone that's on the webinar this evening, if you're interested. Okay, so obviously we can't have an Aggrey Burke Fellowship scheme without mentors, and I'm really pleased to welcome our next speaker, Dr. Ife Ameki, who is Daniel's mentor. So she'll be able to tell us all about how Daniel has fared over the last 2 years as an Aggrey Burke Fellow, and she'll perhaps share a little bit of insight into what as a mentor you might be able to contribute to the scheme, and how as a mentor you know, he or she can help you to achieve your goals. So Ife, I will hand over to yourself. Thank you.
Thanks, Declan, and welcome to everybody. It's lovely to be here. My name is Dr. Ife Ameki, and I'm a consultant child psychiatrist working in South Bristol CAMS. I'm an ex-Londoner, and Daniel was my lovely mentee. I think we were really new to it. So we were the first cohort, really. And I said it was a new venture and it's really exciting. And I was really kind of, I felt very privileged and flattered to be asked to be involved with this scheme and hearing about the background about it, and Dr. Aggrey Burke and how he was a kind of pioneer for Black doctors, really. And I was kind of a beneficiary of his pioneership because I was applying to medical school at the time he was doing the research. So I suppose it was after I applied that things came to light. So it was really wonderful to be asked. But we were finding our feet with this, myself and Daniel. And there were a few things that worked well with myself and Daniel. In a way, Declan had matched us up because I live and work in Bristol, and Daniel was studying in Bristol, and I think he lived very close to me. So initially we met up face to face at my house. I think that might have been a little bit overwhelming for Daniel. I think, did you meet some of my children? I'm not sure if you met some of my children. So that was really wonderful, actually, to meet with you face to face. And obviously our social graces were really similar, I suppose, in a way that we are both of Nigerian heritage. So it was easy to connect with Daniel, and actually he was a bit of a unicorn in a way, because I think all the other Aggrey Burke Fellows are women, aren't they? Yeah, and you were very young in a way, because they were all further on in their training. So Daniel was quite unique, being young and male. So that was excellent. So I think that works well. It might not work. It might be difficult for a lot of mentors and mentees, but it worked for us that at least we could start out by meeting face to face and getting to know each other. And as I said, we've got kind of a bit of a shared background, but we got to know each other. Daniel was telling me about his parents and his journey into medicine. And I told him about mine, because mine's quite a convoluted path. So as well as being a mentor, being a bit of a role model, because I didn't go straight into psychiatry. I did, after medical school, I did house jobs, then I did a PGCE, so I'm a secondary school teacher, and I did general practice and peds. So kind of demonstrating that it might not be a straight path to psychiatry. I think it's a bit straighter now, but definitely in the days that I started my training, a lot of people weaved their way to psychiatry, picking up experience along the way. So sharing that kind of knowledge with Daniel was great. And also for me, it was kind of a two-way thing, because when I started at medical school over 3 decades ago, there were very few Black medical students. So it was really great to be able to mentor a current kind of cohort of medical students, and to know from Daniel that things have changed a little bit in medical school. So it was two-way, that he learned from me and I was learning from him and the other Aggrey Burke Fellows as well, about how things are slowly changing. And also Lade Smith. So a great thing about this fellowship, which I think worked really well, was all of us being able to meet with Lade Smith, who is the president of the Royal College of Psychiatrists, again, who shares social graces, same kind of background as all of us. So that, again, was what went well. And as Declan mentioned, at the beginning and at the end of the fellowship, there were meals, weren't there, Daniel, that we all met up. Dr. Aggrey Burke was due to join one, but he was too poorly. But it was just nice to be all together and share that space. And Daniel and I, so I think after the initial face-to-face meeting, we met online, because as Declan had mentioned, I think, Daniel, you do sports and your timetable got busier and busier, I think. So it made it easier to meet online. But I think having met face-to-face to start off with, for me, was really helpful. And also meeting the other mentees, and then meeting the other mentors. I had, that worked well for me. I met as a mentor group, we met, and to share what the other mentors were doing, what the other possibilities were, because some of the mentors were more research orientated. I see myself as kind of more like a jobbing kind of CAMS clinician. And I, as I say, was able to share my journey into medicine, and I'm very CAMS focused in a way, and was able to share that with Daniel. But I think Daniel was quite CAMS focused, and that's what's led to kind of Daniel's interest in doing an elective. And I know I've snaffled him up and said, yes, even though there's other really important people that are suggesting that he might want to do something else with his elective. But for me, in encouraging Daniel's interest in CAMS has been really enjoyable, and seeing that blossom and seeing his confidence blossom as well. I'm really impressed to see that he's here tonight, because believe it or not, Daniel was quite shy. It's brilliant that he's here, and they say challenging yourself, and also speaking to Daniel about all of you Aggrey Burke Fellows and potential Aggrey Burke Fellows. You are real role models for Black young people who are in school at the moment, thinking about a potential career in medicine, whether they think they're able to do it or not. So just part of what I've said to Daniel is that in the elective, hopefully he'll be able to, we've got a branch of CAMS that goes into schools, that he'll be able to go into schools, and just by his presence being there, being a Black medical student, he will be a kind of role model for other young Black men and women who might want to kind of follow a path of medicine and feel that it might not be possible for them. So, and Daniel is living proof that actually you can. So that's really, really quite helpful. And what Daniel was very good at doing is answering my emails. You know, what did you do that really helped the process? And he was really always able to be flexible about meetings and meeting times. And he was very enthusiastic, and he was good at linking up with the other two fellows. And as you see, they've got a research project that they're doing and that they're being supported by other people in the Aggrey Burke Fellowship to do. And what worked with Daniel is that I think he kind of knew what he wanted to get from the fellowship. He'd always had an interest in CAMHS, even though his dad is an adult psychiatrist. That's what really helped in a way, because that's my kind of raison d'etre. That's what I know about. I do know about the other specialities, but I've been working as a CAMHS psychiatrist for a long, long time. So it was helpful that we were matched up quite well. And it's really helpful that he wants to do an elective, so I can support him through that. What I also enjoyed was helping Daniel spend his money. Towards the end, I said, Daniel, you know you're going to spend it, and just helping him with ideas about how he might spend that. I think thinking about what is possible. You know, I've got a question here. I've been asked what is possible, what isn't possible. I think, to my mind, a mentor will try and help you achieve whatever. I don't think that anything is impossible. Everything can be thought of and surmountable. So, you know, everything is possible. You know, whatever you think you want to do, your mentor will be able to give you some help or advice about how to go about it. And we're here to support you and share our journeys with you about how we got on in medicine and medical school, and the pitfalls, and about how we got to where we are, and the difficulties in training, and just encouraging you really as Black excellent medical students to continue with your Black excellence, really, and to share it, and to be positive role models going forward. And just particularly about psychiatry, for me, psychiatry has been, I've done lots of, as I say, I've weaved my way to this point in my career, and it is the thing that I enjoy most, really, and feel that it's incredibly rewarding as a CAMHS psychiatrist. It is a very hard job, but it's incredibly rewarding, and I wouldn't be doing anything else. And this Aggrey Burke Fellowship is a really great thing that's just for Black medical students. There isn't very much out there just for Black medical students, so please do apply and spread the word. There are lots more Black medical students up and down the universities in the UK than there were when I started over 3 decades ago. My daughter's one of them, but she doesn't want to do psychiatry. But anyway, so it's been a real pleasure to be here to talk to you about my experience of being a mentor and working with the wonderful Daniel and the Aggrey Burke scheme. I would encourage you all to apply and continue to be positive role models, whether you get the fellowship or not.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Ify. Thank you for those words of encouragement and words of inspiration. I think there is something about being a role model, isn't there, as a consultant psychiatrist? And there's nothing more pleasurable, I think, than seeing medical students with that kind of enthusiasm and interest and actually thinking, goodness me, that was me 20 years ago. But it's great to be able to provide that kind of role modeling for medical students. We know it's really important in terms of shaping career aspirations. Right, okay, so we've got plenty of time for questions. We've got about 15 minutes left, so please do keep your questions coming in. And I can see we've got some questions already, so I'm going to kick off. So we've got a question here about whether it's okay to apply for the PsychStar scheme and the Aggrey Burke Fellowship. So the answer to this is it is okay to apply for them both. Unfortunately, what you can't do is you can't occupy a PsychStar bursary and an Aggrey Burke Fellowship bursary as well. So you would have to make a choice between the two of them in terms of which you would prefer to be involved with. But you can certainly apply for both of the schemes. And certainly you can, for example, have applied for the PsychStar scheme previously, not been successful, and apply for the Aggrey Burke Fellowship on this occasion. Okay, so next question is in relation to research opportunities. So does this fellowship provide opportunities to participate in research? Absolutely does. And I think this is one of the key reasons why it's really important when we appoint the Aggrey Burke Fellows that we have an idea about what your areas of interest are. So whether that's sort of academic psychiatry, you may have a specific desire to develop your interest in academic psychiatry or a particular area of psychiatry and research into that. Or for
Hi, Declan. Sorry, we've lost your sound.
For that, I didn't realise the sound had gone. The question was about opportunities to participate in research. So this is absolutely possible for Aggrey Burke Fellows. So the key thing is really making us aware of what areas of interest that you have. So if it's a specific area of psychiatry that you want to do research in, if we know that from the start, then we can use that information to try to identify a mentor that's going to be suited to your area of interest. Yep. So that's one of the things that we specifically look at. So, certainly I know for some people that apply to the scheme, they may be keen to develop their interest in academic psychiatry and have no experience of that hitherto. So that is certainly something we could look at facilitating as part of the Aggrey Burke Fellowship scheme. And as you heard Daniel speak about before, obviously our first cohort of Aggrey Burke Fellows, they've actually all worked together, the three of them, to look at launching their own research project looking at attitudes of Black medical students to a career in psychiatry. So there's nothing stopping you working with your Aggrey Burke Fellow peers to get engaged in doing a research project, and seeing that through from start to finish and being appropriately supervised and provided with senior guidance from your mentors and myself and the college as well. Are you allowed to apply if you were unsuccessful before? Absolutely, and I would really encourage you to do so. I always think if at first you don't succeed, try again until you're successful. It's very competitive. The Aggrey Burke Fellowship scheme has attracted a lot of interest from the two cohorts that we've launched so far. So it is a competitive scheme, and it is really tough to even get interviewed. So I remember speaking to Lade, president of the college, on the day that we did the interviews, and we were both absolutely bowled over by the standard of all 8 or 9 candidates that we interviewed. It was really difficult trying to pick just 3. So it is a very competitive process. So don't lose heart if you're unsuccessful applying the first time. Do apply again. And obviously you've got that prior experience of having gone through the process.
And we've lost you again, and then every time I interrupt you come back.
Okay. I'm not sure when you lost me, Claire. So just to say, if you were unsuccessful previously, you are able to apply this time, and I would encourage you to do so. Do seek advice from people that can support you with your application. Hopefully, sound is still okay. So what kind of things have past fellows spent their money on? I think it's fair to say, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to bring in our Aggrey Burke Fellows. Daniel, what did you spend your money on?
So I think with me, since I think what my other fellows mainly used it on was the electives, but obviously I think since I joined a bit younger, I didn't have the opportunity. So I think I spent the biggest chunk of my CPD fund on getting a new laptop, just because I think where I was at in uni, I actually didn't have a laptop prior. So I after discussing with Ifeoma and the college, making sure it was all okay, I think we decided that would be the best going forward, because it's still the one that I'm using, and it's really helped me along medical school journey. But I think other bits I used it was for sort of some online courses. I use it for some online subscriptions as well, just to help me with my sort of medicine, so like PassMed and Anki, things like that.
Yeah, and Elsie, I know it's very early on. I don't know whether you've spent any of your money yet, or you're saving your money. Have you spent any of it?
No, I have not spent any of my money yet. I do want to spend majority of my money on my elective, because it can be quite expensive. But I'm interested in attending a few conferences as well. Yeah, really interested.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the great things, isn't it, about the CPD fund is you can spend it on several different things, and it's a great opportunity to go to conferences and courses that there's no way you'd be able to afford to go to without that CPD fund. Your mentor is there to support and guide you in terms of how you spend your CPD fund as well. So if you're not sure, consult with your mentor, or feel free to ask myself or Claire or Katrina at the college. We can always guide you as well. But essentially, so long as it's something psychiatry related, and things like psychiatry textbooks are very expensive, trust me. So it's a great opportunity to get all your textbooks in preparation for foundation training and core training in psychiatry. There's another question here, and I guess, Daniel, I'll come back to you if that's okay, because someone's asking whether they're at a disadvantage applying for the Aggrey Burke Fellowship if they're still in the preclinical years of medicine. Now, you were obviously only year 2 when you applied.
Well, I mean, I guess technically year 1.
Year 1, right.
Yeah. I'd say you're definitely not at a disadvantage. I'd say, in terms of the application process, I think it still just comes to things that we mentioned before. So things like, making it personal to yourself, and I guess showing a genuine desire and interest. Because I'd say with me, something that actually might have been an advantage was, I think, since I was so fresh, I didn't really know much about anything. I had a lot of genuine interest and enthusiasm about psychiatry. And I think obviously, when they weigh it all up, they look at everything sort of balanced. So I'd say I wouldn't say you're at a disadvantage for being preclinical, definitely not. So yeah.
And I would absolutely emphasize that, Daniel, to be honest, because obviously, as I mentioned in my presentation, your answers to the questions don't have to be based on psychiatric patients that you've encountered. You can talk about non-clinical encounters as well as your answers to some of the questions. So really what we're looking for is someone that's going to be a good ambassador for the scheme, an ambassador for psychiatry, but have an enthusiasm to really get as much out of the scheme as possible. That's what we really want. Okay, there's a question here about what would you say tips the scale during each of the 2 stages of the selection process when you're close between candidates? That's a very difficult question. We have scoring criteria, and we have more than one person who scores all the applicants. And one of the things that we do is we anonymize the applications as well. So when I'm looking at the answers to all the questions from an applicant, I have no idea which medical school they're from. So we can't be biased in any way. So we try and make the process as fair as possible, and we will have at least 2 or 3, possibly even 3 scorers for each applicant as well. So we can look to see that there's kind of correlation there. And sometimes it's small margins. It goes back to what I was saying about the scheme being very competitive. And when it comes to the interviews, really, it's how you perform on the day. And I know, interviews can be very scary, particularly as a medical student. I think Daniel and your colleagues, I think considering that one of your interviews was the president of the Royal College of Psychiatrists, I think you did fantastically well to maintain your cool and really not get conquered by nerves. So I think it is about interview performance as well on the day. But I suppose it's just kind of conveying that enthusiasm and that interest, and really, allowing that to shine through when it comes to the interviews. Probably just tips the scale, but it is very, very competitive, and the standard is very high. It is fine margins, and certainly if you're not successful, do apply again. Absolutely do apply again. So we've got another question about how important it is to have previous experience in psychiatry extracurriculars, participation in societies and conferences for the application. I don't think this is a deal breaker by any stretch. I think it always helps, but probably more in terms of helping you to identify perhaps some of the areas of psychiatry that you're interested in, or what you may be interested in finding out, more about specific areas of psychiatry, or helping you to develop the kind of confidence to organise events and develop some leadership skills as well. So I think, that there are lots of benefits to getting involved with your local psychiatry society, but certainly if it's not something that you're involved in at the moment, perhaps it's something you might think you might want to get involved in. Who knows, you might become an Aggrey Burke Fellow and then decide, actually, I now really want to get involved with my local student psychiatry society. I think that can certainly be one way forward. I don't think it's something that you need to worry about if you're not involved in your psychiatry society at this point in time, particularly if you're an early years medical student as well. You might not you might not have even thought about getting involved in your psychiatry student society. And I think, in terms of attending conferences, well, you may not have been able to do that because of the cost or because of the opportunity. That's one of the advantages of the Aggrey Burke Fellowship, to give you those opportunities to attend those conferences and courses and to provide the financial means that allow you to do that. And of course, have access to that mentoring that will allow you to sort of guide some of the decisions you make, either about your career in psychiatry or how you might develop your interests. So, I think, there's a really good example of that with his interest in CAMS and being matched with a CAMS mentor who's, been able to help him immeasurably develop that interest and open up new opportunities and, clinical experiences that he wouldn't have got through not being involved with the scheme. Okay, so we have got 2 or 3 more minutes. I will just say as well, one thing I didn't actually mention in the presentation was that your 2 years with the scheme and your 2 years with your mentor doesn't have to stop at the end of 2 years. So it's really dependent on you as the mentee and your mentor. There's nothing to stop you continuing to have that sort of mentee-mentor relationship, albeit informally and not within the confines of the scheme. Certainly, that's something we would encourage you to do. I think, Daniel, I think you mentioned yourself that coming to the college, it was like kind of, you were kind of impressed by the way that people knew each other from training and they were now consultants. And I always think, once you sort of become involved with the college of psychiatrists, it's like joining a big family. And we want to welcome you guys as medical students and watch you grow and nurture and see you progress through your training and become consultant colleagues. That gives us great pleasure as older consultants. Shall we say. Okay, we've got a couple more minutes, so if there are any other questions, please do put them in the Q&A box. Yeah, so we had about 45 applicants for the last 2 cohorts, so it is popular, the 3 Aggrey Burke Fellows. So it just goes to show, how well you've done if you're awarded one of the Aggrey Burke Fellowship bursaries. So it's a fantastic effort from Daniel and Elsie to kind of achieve the Aggrey Burke Fellowship, and it's a great thing in terms of your CV and for your career as well. Okay, so I'm very conscious we're 1 minute to 7. So just to remind you about the application window, which does open tomorrow at midday, and that will stay open then until the 27th of April at midday. So you've got plenty of time to submit your application, and do seek advice from people around you, whether that's consultants, psychiatrists, trainees, etc. You've got plenty of time to kind of draft some answers, get some feedback, and I'm really looking forward to reading your applications. And I wish you all the very best of luck. I want to say a huge thank you to Elsie and Daniel for coming and speaking on a webinar. It's not an easy thing to do, guys, especially as a medical student. So well done to both of you. I'm sure it'll be the first of many. I want to say a huge thank you as well to Iffy for her work as a mentor and being so enthusiastic about the scheme right from the word go. From the first time I met her, it was clear that she was really enthusiastic about being involved with the scheme and really keen to help Daniel as a mentor. So I'm sure we may call on her services at some point for future Aggrey Burke Fellows. I just want to say a huge thank you to you all for attending this evening, and to Claire and Katrina behind the scenes for all the admin work. And thank you very much for joining us. Best of luck with your applications, and good evening.